Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the coolest podcast in the world. I just said it now. Creative Marinade with myself, Francisco Rebello. And today, well, in Australia it's this evening. In London right now it's this morning. I got a really good friend, a really cool creative designer, and someone that I find very inspiring. When I used to work with her, I used to see like the cool stuff that she does for work, outside of work, what she's all about. And actually, it's been like a few years since we worked together, and I've been following her on Instagram and seeing all the cool stuff that I need to catch up myself on. But in this podcast, I've always wanted to like bring different type of people, different types of creatives, people outside the box. And I definitely want to share Kara's story. Sorry, Swaaraa, but to me, she's Kara, bro. So Kara, I'll let you introduce yourself and you tell me what's the vibes.
Yeah, thanks, Cisco. It has been a good few years since we've worked together. Way back when. So back when you were in England, obviously. So I am the founder and CEO of Better Shared, which is an online platform for artists across Africa and the diaspora. And our goal is to help artists sell at scale, so selling at global scale. And we do this through our online marketplace and then also through kind of B2B2C partnerships. So bringing art into spaces where people spend most of their time, where they're then able to purchase it. So yeah, that's a roundup of kind of what I do now. I was, I guess, a former UX UI designer, which I was doing for a good few years, which is obviously how we work together. And now I also do kind of talks as well. So I guess I'm still in the creative space, but I also do talks. So I do a bunch of kind of talks and kind of workshops for creatives to help them market and monetize their skills. So yeah, that's me.
That is you. You know what? Like, I wrote down things that I was going to say to you. Now, it's like if it was introducing the Kara that I met 5 years ago, it was like designer with a passion project. Now it's like the passion project is the main thing, and design is a part of that bigger thing that you do. But you're definitely at soul a creative. Like, you're not in the creative field, you're like 100% creative. maybe let's start with that. Like, before even talking about you being a designer, like, where do you think your creative like spirit and perspective come from?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know, actually. I feel like I've always been creative. I actually don't remember I feel like I didn't do anything else. Like, obviously I've had like part-time jobs and things like that when like I was at uni and things like that, but I feel like I've been creative across like different things. So when I think about going back to school, I really loved like drama and like performing arts, and I actually thought I was going to be an actress. That was my initial and then
Still time.
I remember, a long time ago. And then I remember the first time I actually got introduced to graphic design was at school, and it was my art teacher who had brought in, when I think about it now, it's a bit random, but had brought in her friend like one day a week to talk about, he was a graphic.
That's cool.
And literally I remember at the time, all he was talking about was, I think he obviously worked in advertising, but for me, I was just like, oh my God, he gets to create these massive billboards and posters and he does all this stuff. And so that was my first idea of graphic design. So I was just like, oh, sick, that's what I want to do. Like, if he gets to create these like huge billboards. And I guess everything as a kid is all about scale. So for me, it was like, it's massive, everyone's going to see it. Like, you can kind of spend some time like being creative and it goes on a poster. And then, I guess I understood a little bit about advertising. And so, that was my first like understanding of what graphic design was. And so I was like, oh cool, I want to do that now. That was from kind of school time. And then since then I obviously kind of went through school, went through college, did all creative subjects in like college, did like media, I think I did English as well, randomly, drama and graphics. And then when I left, it was like, I definitely want to do kind of graphic design. And that's I kind of stuck to that, went to uni. And then went through so many different like paths in terms of when I came out, like in terms of across the creative industry. But I think I've always just been creating something. If you ask my mum, I feel like she was like, I remember we used to have this cupboard in our kitchen that was like, I guess it was like, do you remember, this is real back in the day, like when Art Attack used to come on and they used to do,
yeah.
And it used to be like, you can put this stuff together, and it was all really just about upcycling. It was like finding stuff in the house, you get glue, you stick stuff together. I remember my mum used to have this cupboard
with the yogurt pots. I had to buy yogurt so I could get the empty yogurt pots.
Like the toilet roll, like the little kind of brown.
Oh yeah.
So it used to be all in this cupboard because I used to just be like, can we save it? So it'd be like, empty egg boxes and just all these spare boxes and random stuff would be in this cupboard. And so whenever Art Attack would come on, I'd be like, oh, I want to make this, or I just wanted to make random stuff. So it was always just basically making a mess with like glue and card, or drawing something, or doing experiments as a kid. So that was pretty much, I feel like I've always been doing something like that. So yeah.
That's incredibly wholesome. Like when you were saying first, like, oh, I don't know where I was like gonna ask, like, what would your mum say? And I guess that's the answer. Like, I guess, I get this vision of like baby Cara, or like little girl Cara, just happy to do whatever different things, and even then going into school and, as you said, like drama and stuff. So what made you? So the graphic design thing, I guess you said like the idea of billboards, or what as you studied graphic design were you more curious in?
Yeah, I think at the time, so bear in mind, this is like school time, so we weren't really like on computers then. We were just sort of like making things. We were like in art, so we were like making a lot of stuff. So I think a lot of stuff was like physical, like we were doing, kind of, I said, more kind of posters, like we were literally just getting a big piece of paper, sketching out stuff, and that was kind of our poster. And then when I got to college, it was more, we then started to use like Adobe, and so it was like learning Photoshop and learning InDesign and learning Illustrator. And again, when I think about it, we were still kind of doing a lot kind of based around advertising. I remember at the time I remember one project specifically because it was about if we were to ever obviously win the Olympics. I think this was us talking about, obviously back then it was things that were like way far in the future.
No, that's how you know we're old, bro. Like sometimes when I think about the Olympics 2012, like that seemed like so in the future. And I talk to someone in my office now, they'll be like 2012, like that was years ago.
Yeah. Like,
it's 10 years ago. Oh my God, that was the future. That was 10 years ago.
Exactly. So I feel like, which is crazy because I think about it now, I graduated in 2012 and that's when it happened. But when I was in school, because obviously it was like a far-flung like future idea, like I remember, well, not school, like college times, this is like from about 17, 18. They were like, okay, like the project is to like design almost like, the branding for if we were to kind of get the Olympics. I guess we were talking about maybe at the time, or it was something, maybe they were bidding for it. And so I remember that project specifically because it was like branding and a bit of like advertising. So we're kind of moving a little bit more into branding. And I think that's where I started to be like, oh, okay, I'm really interested in like this side of design. Like what does branding mean and how do we start? Like what is the process within there?
Okay. Yeah. And you know what? I was thinking in my head as well, like when I did first meet you and I looked at your website and stuff, you like, it's funny, you don't like now you would introduce yourself as founder and creative. Even like when you said, oh, I'm kind of still in the creative field, I'm like, bro, you are a creative person. But I mean like basically what I was trying to get at was, your design portfolio was something I was jealous of too, or like, like respected and asked you for advice and stuff like that. So basically when I met you, I remember you working in my company, and I remember your website being full of like good projects, branding, like solid design stuff. But then I can't remember if you told me about like Better Shared. And then like, first of all, I love the name. Like the name alone, I was like, it's too good. And then when I read what it's about, I'm like, I can't believe this is perfect. Like someone's like got the right vibe and like sharing the right thing, and just the idea, just the name Better Shit, that's even kind of what I'm doing with this podcasting. It's like the more people know from other people, like the better. So, and also like at that time that I met you, I was also working on my own little side project that kind of came from like my own vibe, my own energy, and was something I was like working on. And like, so where did the, you know, like most designers, most people have a job focused on like getting promoted or changing agencies, getting more design projects. What took you into this like realm of starting your own thing?
Yeah, so it actually, the idea from Better Shared started when I was probably leaving my first job. So I went from being like full time, like, yeah, working for an agency, and I was very much in graphic design. So my first job out of uni was in TV branding. It's very, very different. But I was always doing digital things. So I was always kind of working on websites. I was really interested in digital from like uni time. So I knew that was the space that I wanted to move into. But yeah, when I first left, I was very much like a traditional, I guess, graphic designer that went into TV. So I knew nothing about TV, but luckily got the job in it and learned everything about TV on the job. So it's a lot more kind of, I was still kind of designing 2D, but it was then kind of going to be, I was also looking at kind of 3D, and then I was also handing it over to an animator that would then kind of, yeah, bring it to life and start to create almost like motion graphics. And then when I was there, they used to have a gallery underneath. And so I kind of looked through their books. And then I was in, obviously, the middle of Shoreditch. I was in like the Shoreditch Triangle. And yeah, obviously went around to different galleries. Obviously, every first Thursday they would do openings. And then I was just like, okay, the lack of diversity here is wild. Like I was like, there's literally no one. And then I'd look through all the magazines and go online and look at all the blogs. And I was like, they're just showcasing the same people like over and over again. And I remember it just being like a thought. I remember talking to like some of my friends about it. And I do remember actually, which I feel like I've actually didn't really talk about that much. I went to a Glug event, and this was literally, yeah, about 10 years ago, or maybe maybe 8 years ago. And obviously Glug is like for anyone who doesn't know what Glug is, like it's the design, well, yeah, I guess it's kind of like designers and different kind of creatives kind of get up and do that kind of Petra Kuchar style talk where you've only got like a certain amount of time to talk. But generally like it's like either like people from agencies or like, yeah, quite like big brands will kind of go and do a talk. And I remember it was Stephen Bartlett, and this was way back in the day before, I think when he probably just started.
The CEO guy, Diary of a CEO guy. Oh yeah. Okay, cool.
And I remember I was just like, okay, we'll go to this Glug event. And then I was like, oh, and for me, I was like, wow, there's a black guy who was doing a talk. Like I was like, I never see this. I was like, yeah, it'd be cool. I didn't know anything about Stephen, but I was just like, the fact that I was like, okay, cool. I did a bit of a Google, and I was like, okay, I think he does this like social thing. But I just went to see his talk because I was like, oh, I've never seen a black guy ever do a talk at Glug. And yeah, I went to watch his talk with one of my friends.
What about in the audience? In the audience, were you the only black person? Or was there?
I feel like I've been used to being a female and being black in design is like a rarity.
Yeah.
Probably aware, like, I feel like I feel like anyone in design is very like male centric, and then B, yeah, in terms of like, yeah, kind of race or I think gender and race is two things that, yeah, design is really lacking in terms of diversity. I think it's getting better now, but this is obviously we're talking.
I don't know if it's just surface level, but I can definitely see just on LinkedIn people that work in my old companies, and like I'm happy to see all like young black brown people. I'm like, okay, this is nice. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, good vibes.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, I'm hoping that it's going up. Like, I'm hoping that there's more like design directors and like moving up.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
but that's the thing. Like, because I'm not, I guess, so much in that industry anymore. Like, I'm aware that there's probably more juniors and there's more people in terms of that. But it's interesting to see if like, is this going up? Like, are more people becoming directors and stuff like that? So, yeah. But that was the first. Yeah, so that was the talk I saw. And I remember having a conversation afterwards with my friends and just being like, can you name, and this was initially because we were just thinking about design, like I said, oh, can we name any like famous black graphic designers? And then we were like, oh yeah, there's that one guy at Pentagram. And then we were like, and like, yeah, it was just paused. Like it was just like a silence, and like a deathly silence. And I remember us just all looking at each other being like, I think feeling two things, feeling embarrassed, being like, how can we not name anyone? And then also feeling a bit like, well, there must be a reason why we can't name anyone. Like, there's obviously not like visibility of these people. And so yeah, that was the initial kind of like seed in my head of being like, okay, something needs to be done about this, because it was across the creative industry. So I think obviously when Better Shared started, it was everything from like, we talked about fashion designers, graphic designers, illustrators, artists. And so that was the like seed of the idea, was the fact that people just don't know that there's amazing talent out there. They're just not being seen. And so that was where, because the actual name of Better Shared comes from Stories Are Better Shared. And that's kind of how we started. So yeah, that was the initial thinking came from that. But yeah, I actually remember I was like, yeah, it was Stephen Bartlett that we were watching when I think about it now.
Yeah. And but what was it originally? Because I feel like it's changed what it is today. We'll talk about that. But what was it originally?
Yeah, so originally it was just, as I said, it was just one of those things where I feel like if you ever have this, like I'm like, just go do something about it. Like it was this idea that I had, and I thought about it every single day. I remember I writing down like so many different ideas for the name, but it was all just like a real kind of project, just to be like, because obviously I spoke to my friends about it, and I spoke to other friends, and like everyone was super passionate, being like, oh, it's true. Like, how do we find all of these creators? So I was like, yeah, they do exist. Like, we're here, like there's obviously other people who are doing like cool stuff, like let's like highlight them and spotlight them. So the whole idea at the beginning was sorry, come on, you're gonna ask me something.
No, go on, sorry.
It was just a way of basically showcasing people's stories, so showcasing like who are these amazing talents and like how do people learn more about them. So we started off as a YouTube series, like it was, because I was like, okay, let's think of something to engage with and like people be able to like see the people, hear their stories, and like, yeah, just engage with them and connect with them. So the idea is that you could watch it as someone being like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, we've had a similar background. We've had a similar upbringing or whatever. Or she looks like me. Or, oh, he went to the same area as me. Like it was that kind of connection. And it was, so the first series was called the Black British Creative Series. And yeah, we featured like Lakwena Makaiva, Nadine Ijua. So yeah, across like from obviously like when there's more kind of like art and like more like graphic art in terms of like, being more of like a graphic artist. Nadine Ijua went on to then become the first Black woman to shoot the cover of Vogue. So she was a brilliant photographer, and I feel like she was like just coming up. Bianca Saunders, who fantastic menswear designer, who now has like just like her talent, I feel like, is finally being like recognized, and she's doing amazing stuff. But at the time, she was still at RCA, so we went into RCA, shot the whole video in RCA. Justina Bailey, who's a brilliant like designer as well, an illustrator. Benai Matheson, who we went up to Huddersfield with, he's a fashion designer who's kind of gone more into art now.
What about?
Yeah, and Samuel.
Were you going to say more?
Yeah, there was a few.
No, say more. Don't let me cut off. Sorry, say.
I'm like, we'll go through the list of people that we went from. Yeah, Samuel Menser as well, who was at the beginning was like he was more of a typographer. Went on to then work for McKinsey, and has gone on to kind of do a bunch of other stuff. So, and then then we had like Sean Dendere and like his brother and stuff. So it was just like a range of people who were doing just really great work in their space, but they were still at I'd say the early stages of like their greatness. So it was almost like, how great could they be? But it was like learning about them now and learning about like where they want to get to and what they want to do. So yeah.
You know what? As you speak, well, this what happens like when like I feel like I've like got this like inkling of when I start these like side projects that like, oh, I've got that buzzing feeling and I do it and I have this idea. And last time when I had that, you were around and I was asking you about it, and like when you're talking, that's giving me a lot of like thoughts in this current thing. But also what I like about what you said, and actually one thing I'm curious about is you said like we would go into these places, and I kind of know like who was like what was we, and more like it sounds like, because people have big ideas, but I also think it's good to start off with what's the big idea, but execute the smaller practical idea. Like it started off as a YouTube channel, or it started off by you finding people and interviewing them. So like, yeah, like I loved, as you said, like the idea of it, the fact that it's needed, but that little practical question of like, what is it? Because it didn't come to what it is today. It's like, what was those initial things? Was it just you on your own? Did you have to hire a camera person? Did you how did you reach out for those people that you didn't know and stuff like that?
Yeah, so when I started, initially I had this conversation with my friends, and I remember I asked one of my friends, Ian, at the time, who was still at uni, so he was still at Ravensbourne, and I remember being like, this is the idea, and I think it'd be really great as a video. Like, do you know? And he was like, yeah, cool. Like, I can shoot video. And like, he was like, oh, one of my friends does as well. And this is literally how the team initially kind of formulated. So it was me, and then Ian brought his friend along, and he was like, oh yeah, like his friend joined, which was John. And then when I was at an event where we went to interview, I went to meet Justina Bailey before we went to interview her. One of her friends was just standing outside. And it's random. We just started speaking. I just explained what I was doing. It was just like a general, just like you're in the same area, you're kind of waiting around. So you just end up having a conversation. We started chatting and he was just like, oh, it sounds really cool. And then, he ended up joining and then also filming. And then I then hired my first intern. And literally this was all volunteer. No, I would say hired. I would say I just advertised for an intern. So I would say
yeah.
But I had bear in mind, this was nothing. It wasn't making money at the time. It was a project. So it was anything that I had to spend on it, I was taking from my freelance money, being okay, cool, we've got to travel somewhere, or, obviously I had to pay for expenses for my intern and things like that. So and then Nikisha joined as my intern probably a good few, it was still near the beginning, but a couple of months in. So it went from just me and then me kind of having this idea of my friends and us being which I think how many of us? 5 of us, basically 4 or 5 of us. But we were just literally going around. So I would kind of search for some people and vice versa. We would kind of talk about maybe who we were looking at and and then they would sort of be okay, where are we going? Where are we filming? And everyone was just passionate about the project and passionate about speaking to these people. And, they were great at and that's the thing. I think you need to find people, if you're going to get, even if it's a project, people who can kind of work on specific things. So I was never interested in filming. That wasn't my bag. I ended up editing, which I absolutely hate, and realized I absolutely hated it once I started. But it's something I just had to get on and do. And so everyone was kind of good at different things. So John, Joby and Ian were really good at filming, and then they also did a bit of photography, and they were good at kind of getting people into the certain positions and being hey, this needs to be shot, understanding the shot list, all that kind of stuff. And then my job was just to edit and interview. And then Nikisha was just brilliant at absolutely everything, in terms of marketing or being okay, actually we need to, this person needs to do this, or getting things organized. And so, we got on, it was just a big group of friends that spent a lot of time together working towards this project. And I'm always so thankful for them, because it was an idea that I had. And it's sometimes hard, I think, when you kind of bring other people onto an idea that you've got, because they've got to be passionate, but because it's your own idea, that people aren't necessarily as passionate as you are with stuff. But they were all brilliant, and I there's no way that Better Shed would be where it is today if we hadn't started with them. So that's pretty much how it started. Just
I'm actually gonna no. But before I go to the next bit, I was actually you know what, because you're a designer, I'm a designer too. And because you got those friends of yours, basically it makes a difference that everything was well executed. When I say I met you randomly, you're a freelancer in my company, and somehow you showed me this thing, and I've gone on it, and I've been one, impressed, one, loved the idea of it, but two, not even, impressed sounds more you take it for granted that this is high quality video, it's a high quality website, and actually behind the scenes. But because you're a designer, you would take the effort to make sure everything's graded, or the things that people don't realize, that what gives it that credibility for when you want to do something in the future. So that's it. And actually, so as I said, when I met you before, you were you were working, and you had this you were working on this project. Sometimes I remember you having periods where you were 3 days a week working and 3 days on your project, or 2 days. And what about even when you started? I'm sure that whole what you just explained was whilst doing a full-time job. So maybe let's talk about in the end you becoming now founder, entrepreneur of your own company, but at the beginning working at a company, having an intern volunteer, having friends volunteer. How's that kind of transition?
So basically there was a lot that kind of changed or happened over the kind of years that we were that we were kind of working on Better Shed. So as I said, it started with this video series. We shot the first one in the UK. We actually shot a second one in Paris. So we did a second series in Paris. So that was the Paris kind of like, well, the French creative series. And then we kind of had all this kind of content, and then we'd done all these kind of interviews. And what we realized was we loved video. I think if I knew this at the time, I probably would have gone maybe not a different route, but I probably would have like gone for kind of sponsorship and partnership. I didn't know anything about that at the time. Like I was just like, this is a project that we're doing. I didn't really understand the value of partnerships yet until we kind of got to this next stage. And so we kind of got to a point where I was like, it's great shooting these videos, but they're a lot of work, like to shoot a video, to edit it, to grade it, you know, to make sure that, and we're doing like little tiny edits as well of like, you know, obviously cutting up, you know, bits of content that are going here and there. And then, the final bit that obviously, as everyone knows, if anyone ever, you know, has created a YouTube channel or created something, as you said, the series was supposed to be, you know, it's not super cinematic, but it's supposed to look like a little bit more polished than like we just like
it was. I remember now. You did a talk. I came to your talk and you had clips of it. Now I think the Paris one is like super. Yeah. Now I just remember like super Paris vibes, architecture in the background, some cool creative in like big clothes. You're like, like I imagine it's on Vimeo because it has to be that crispy quality.
Where we were like, we don't want it to look like we've just like we're like almost like just like uni, not just uni students, but we wanted it
to I know you mean
like a little bit more polished at least. And so so basically we got to the point where we were like, actually doing video was great, but we actually want to speak to way more creatives. So then we started and also we needed a place to house it. So like YouTube was fine, but I guess obviously as a designer I also knew that it helps having some kind of like web presence or like online presence. So I was like, let me build the website and then, you know, let's start doing like written blogs as well. So it meant that we were just like churning out lots of content. And so, we started interviewing artists, and it also allowed us to then kind of grow the network. So at the time, we started to kind of grow this creative network in the UK, because obviously that's where we started. And then we were like, actually, this can be bigger. And then we started getting people that we were like, okay, this person's cool, that person's cool. Okay, this person's in Nigeria. Okay, this person's here. And so we started to then look at like artists that were on the continent of Africa and like around the world effectively. And then so that's when we started doing written interviews. And
around what year is this when you start going to Africa?
We started to do I'm trying to go back to maybe, so the idea of Better Share kind of kicked off around 2016, so it was a while ago. We filmed I think around that time, maybe not around 20, this is probably like 2017 I think around that sort of time we were doing that was the first iteration of the website, I think. And it's so funny, we've gone through so many. I've probably got screenshots of like all the iterations of the website, like how it started and how it's grown. And then
that'd be cool.
We then started to do, I think we then did a series. Yes. So everything was kind of based around these kind of series. We did a series that was all kind of Black women in the creative industry. And it was almost like a sit down, almost like round table style talk. And so we did that series, and then we did an event. So it was our first event. And it's funny because when we did our event, everyone had thought, okay, we're launching. Because obviously people who didn't know about us were just like, oh, this is your launch event. And it was.
This was the one with selling artwork?
No, so we weren't selling artwork. This was
okay.
probably around that sort of 20. I think we were probably still maybe 2017. I mean, it could be in 2016, but I think it's around 2017 time. And I remember, we've never organised an event before. I definitely went over budget. Like we did, we just like blue sky thinking, and then like brought it down slightly. But it was just exciting. So we had to find a space. And so and everyone always asked me like, how do you get these spaces? I always look at kind of ways that we can partner with the space, because remember, there is no budget. Like it's just my freelance money that's going into stuff. So we found a space in Shoreditch, which is just behind Autograph Gallery, which now Autograph Gallery, I think, own that whole space, but there used to be a space behind them that had a bar. And we went into this bar, and I remember we were looking for space, and then we went kind of out. They had this kind of outdoor, kind of almost like garden space. And there was a DJ there at the time who was like practicing, I guess, for later. And I remember talking to Nikisha and being like, this would be a great space. So we did our first kind of, I guess, like exhibition / launch party in a way. Ended up being in this random bar in Shoreditch. And we just did a partnership with them where we were like, I think we created a drink that was like a Better Share themed drink. There was like a little jerk, like barbecue section so people could go get food. We spoke to that DJ, and he was just listening to kind of what we were talking about and how we were planning stuff. And I was like, oh, would you like want to DJ it? And he was like, yeah, like I'll come and I'll DJ. So then we ended up having a DJ because he was like, oh, I'm going to play anyway. So that's cool. Like I'll I'll play at that event. And then we had these, because they didn't have, because we were outside, bear in mind it's like actual like brick wall. So we were like, okay, well, we need something to put like so we did this kind of photography series that went with that, like talk series that we did about women. And so, yeah, we basically, I remember I went to Selco, I opened an account with Selco. Bear in mind, I'm not like a builder or a trader, but you had to open an account. So I opened this account and bought these massive, like almost like 7-foot like wood like MDF panels that were then like lined up outside, and then we affixed all the kind of artwork and like photography pieces to it and got the frames. And yeah, it was a lot of work, and I remember I had to get a zip van to get all the stuff down, and then we got all these plants, but it was so fun. And yeah, we had, I think, about over 100 like creators kind of turn up. And yeah, so
how did you get them?
So I said at the time we were kind of building this network, and obviously we were on social, so we were on Instagram, we had our website, we had, I think we had a mailing list as well at the time. And I always say to people, like, make sure you have a mailing list. Like, this is how you, like, this is really how you're going to build it. You can really build an audience, and kind of own that audience as well. And then
I'm taking notes, go on.
And yeah, we did free tickets on Eventbrite, and so yeah, we were supposed to, I guess, be tracking everyone, but it was just to see like roughly so we could see the numbers. And yeah, it just got kind of bigger and bigger and bigger. And then yeah, launch night happened, and I guess it was also a thing of like, are people going to turn up? Are they not? And yeah, people liked it. I guess at the time, obviously, like people wanted to go to events. Like it was just an exciting time. And so we had a bunch of creatives. Obviously, the creatives that we had like interviewed came down as well. People that we've met over and also because remember we're always speaking to artists to kind of on creatives to interview them. So we were building up this network of creatives anyway. So yeah, they all came down, they brought their friends, people saw it on socials, and yeah, then it just ended up turning into this.
Yeah.
I guess what was almost like an exhibition turned into a party at the end of it. But yeah, it was like
I think I remember seeing that. Like I remember when I first found out about Better Shed, and probably it was the new, like I went into the website and it was like event, and it happened like last week, but it looked sick, and I was like, oh crap, when's the next one?
It was good fun. And then that's when we realized, okay, events are a good space for us to like now sort of showcase stuff. And then from there, I think this was you asked, so it was a very long-winded way into the transition, but effectively from there we then started to realize that events were like a space that we could start bringing people down and people were seeing work. And so at this point, because remember, we're looking at like, and we had this discussion, we all sat down together and we're like, look, at the minute we're talking to fashion designers, graphic designers, illustrators, artists, like it's broad. So we were like, how are we going to section it? Like, are we going to talk to a fashion designer one week and then this one next week? And then, yeah, at the time, I think now, as we're getting like about, still around like 2017, maybe going on to 2018 now, we were kind of like, there were other platforms that were coming out. So there was like, platforms specifically for film, platforms specifically for fashion, platforms specifically for like, there were maybe less in the kind of art space, but people had started to sort of create their own platforms, which is exciting to see. Like people were focused on, actually, I want to see more people that look like me or look like, whether it was, kind of black creatives or whether it's black and brown creatives, like people were starting to create more platforms. And so what we realized was that we were probably quite good at focusing on was more of like illustration and art. So yeah, we decided to focus down, and we're like, that's an area that we know pretty well. We were all kind of, I guess because we've got that background of kind of graphic design, and as I said, I'd worked for a studio which had a gallery underneath, so I'd been in the art space. So I was a bit like, that's something that I guess we're a bit more comfortable with. And yeah, and also it was the thing that when people were kind of coming to our events, we were like, okay, this is what they're asking about. They're asking more about the art than anything else. And so, yeah, then we started to do pop-up exhibitions and again, followed that partnership model. So we did a partnership with WeWork. We did a partnership with, like just a bunch of other spaces that, would just kind of give us space. And we did a partnership with a bar that's now called something else, but it's called Nana Bar at the time, because we had a last-minute cancellation of a space. And so I ran around Shoreditch. We kind of did a lot of stuff in Shoreditch, because obviously that was, which you remember, was like the creative hub at the time.
Is it not anymore? Surely it still is.
Yeah, not anymore. But yeah, it was basically vegan, like ice cream. Basically, they made ice cream out of bananas. So called Nana Bar. Okay, but we ran around and I found this space. And I remember I asked them last minute and they were like, sounds like a cool event. We ended up doing a partnership. Like I think the first set of people got like free ice cream or whatever. And yeah, we got the space. And literally that had to be basically an event cancelled, a space cancelled. So we had to basically go there the next day. So it all works.
Well, the next day, with 1 week's notice, 1 day's notice, you got people to come to your exhibition.
Yeah, because we switched, because basically we had already had a location, so we kind of like had the location. It was still in the same area, but they cancelled with us, literally the day before. And so I had to run around literally I was physically running around Shoreditch, just trying to like go into spaces and being like, hey, can we partner with you and do an event tomorrow? This is what's going to happen. And yeah, luckily they were like, yeah, it sounds cool.
That's what I'm saying, Cara. You're an entrepreneur, bro. That all these stories about sales co and running around, like to me, that's what entrepreneur is. Like, whereas a designer or a craftsman or whatever you're doing, like your safety behind your desk, like safety behind budgets and everything like that, and like in the little things that I've dabbled into. From doing a podcast to selling t-shirts, finding printers, figuring out hardware that I don't want to figure out, and and also it's like driven by your passion. And you're right to have that like big idea, that worthwhile idea. Like I love the idea. Like it's not just a pure like money idea. It's like a reason that needs to happen. Wait, I was gonna think of something else. Oh yeah, before I want to talk about art curation, but before that, I don't think you really captured the like I mean, like for me, I'm still in this like safety zone of having a job. And I spoke to one of my other episodes with my friend Bao, who became a freelancer, then her own company, and she now has a company that hires people and stuff like that. Like, what about that aspect of like there might be people watching this that maybe have an idea, or no, just tell like the kind of like the hard truths about being an entrepreneur, I guess, and having a business and stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like it. So yeah, I guess I said I had my freelance career, and so I was doing. Yeah, obviously I was a freelance designer for a good. So I was full-time designer for like 3.5 years, then freelance for about 6 years or whatever. So like a good while. So I had that. I was kind of freelancing for a while, and then obviously when I said Better Shade was a project. When I started to see Better Shade as a business, or I understood that there was a business need with it, just so I can go back so people can understand that bit, was when we were doing these exhibitions, because basically that was how we realised actually this is where people this is where people were spending money. So we were getting applications from loads of artists. At this point, our network was now global. So we were now working with artists both on the continent of Africa and across the diaspora, so across the UK, the US, a bunch of different places. And so we were getting them to either send their work over and then we were exhibiting it and then people would want to buy it. Or we actually kind of, I guess at the time, worked out that actually we could do this kind of print service where if you couldn't send your physical work, you could send a digital file, we'd print it, and you just pay like, I think it was like £15, and we'd print it and frame it. And so that became so all of these things that we had done is almost like they were almost like small experiments. I always said to people, if you want to test a business idea, do it do a smallest version as possible, or like a cheapest version as possible, like your first version, and then you're going to see if people are interested or not, without you going, oh, I've quit my job and I'm just going to go, like have some traction there first, like have some understanding of the market. And so we did our last like big exhibition, I think it was around 2018, 19, around that sort of time. And we had like 2 floors. We ended up having like 150 applications. We only had room for like 12 or something like that. And
I think I came to that one. I came to one definitely with my friend.
That was like, we've done them all in Shoreditch, I think. So yeah, I think it was probably the one. And it was weird because it's opposite the place where we did our first one. So if you walk straight out of it, it's actually, and you walk around we did our first exhibition. And yeah, we basically got to the point where we were like, I had to sit there and go, okay, the network is big now. We're now solving, and so what we were now solving as like an issue wasn't just about visibility. Because we went and we literally like interviewed, we've done so many like questionnaires and interviews with artists and being like, what is it that we're helping you do? And artists were like, it's the fact that yes, it's global visibility, but also the fact that we're reaching like these collectors like around the world, like we're able to reach international collectors. And so that was a big thing for artists. Like it's quite hard for them to just like obviously they've got Instagram and things, but to be able to actually reach them and then sell to them, like the logistics, the financial costs, and also the visibility were the kind of 3 things we were solving. And so so our vision really has always sort of been the same, but it was about, for us now, our vision as a business is to help artists kind of showcase and sell their work at scale. And when we say at scale, I mean at global scale. And so that's kind of.
But does that mean like scale? Sorry, I was just curious. Like, you mean like sell the multiple versions of that print to multiple people? Or what do you mean by scale? Not selling one for one painting.
So scale is more. So we're talking about scale more in terms of like globalization. So in terms of like global either visibility or global sales. So we're helping you go from you maybe selling to a local artist to you selling internationally. But that also does for us. Weirdly, it also come. Off the back of that, we do sell kind of more prints and editions, and we help artists sell like physically at scale as well. But what we initially meant by that is actually in terms of like globally. So we want to be able to help you sell in the UK, the US, Singapore, around the world. Kind of that's our focus. But yeah, so in terms of the kind of business side of it, as I said, yeah, we started to make some money through doing that. And this whole time I've been doing Better Shed like part-time. I've been doing it in the evenings or the weekends, or as you saw, I started to reduce my days. So I would do 4 days a week or 3 days a week, and I do 2 days on Better Shed. And so it was starting to build some traction. We'd had a brand partnership with Unilever, so we started to have a bit of money, but not like a huge amount of money. But there was some traction. So people were, as we were doing these exhibitions, people were buying art and being like, okay, I want to buy more of this, that, and the other. And we were like, yeah, we just can't scale. Like, we can't do another exhibition where we've got all of these artists and we're only fitting like about 10% of them in this space. And so, yeah, I made the decision to be like, let's go online. And this was 2019. So this was before the pandemic. And so I was like, look,
okay,
platform. We actually
timed itself well, though.
I know. Well,
I thought that was a result after, but anyway, go ahead and carry on.
No, so it was the idea of it was kind of in 2019. So if you looked at our platform in 2019, it was very much a blog with like a little shop. And so we'd been testing all these different kind of like the whole way through. We've been doing these like little small experiments. So we had like a merchandise shop, and then we'd actually never really just been like, and then we started selling the artwork. Then we were selling prints, and we were like, okay, there's some traction here. Let's kind of go with this. And I thought, and so yeah, I had some savings at the time, and I thought if I give it 100, let me see what it can do if I give it 100%. And so this was, I mean, if I advise any people who are thinking about doing this, you need to save for way longer than you think you need to. So like, you might think this bucket of savings is going to last me a year, whereas actually you probably need to save more because it's going to take you a longer period of time to get to maybe, kind of generating income. The second thing is services pay. If you're doing like a service-based business, you will generate revenue and be able to pay yourself a little bit quicker. So if you're like freelancing as a designer, et cetera, you can do that stuff. I'd probably start it whilst I'm still working. Like, you can do a lot of that stuff while you're still working. But for me, I had to make like almost like a clean cut just to see like, what if I give it 100% of my time and my energy, where will it get to? Like, how will it grow? And obviously, because we started to make this transition, the team that I initially started with, was sort of like, everyone sort of disbanded, everyone was sort of doing their own things. We weren't really filming anymore. And yes, it was just me. So it went from a team of, 5 back down to me, just focused on, rebuilding this website into a marketplace, an e-commerce platform. And then getting a bunch of artists to be like, actually, yes, I want to kind of join the new platform and kind of move on to there. And so, that was a lot of work in kind of the end of that 2019 period. And then we got to the beginning of the year and we're kind of ready to launch. And then obviously the pandemic hit, which was, everyone knows it. But everyone remembers the time. It was, whether you were kind of working or whether you were running a business or whatever you were doing. And there was 2 things that happened at the time. So I had I had a big client and I'd had a few like smaller clients, and I'd left my big client, which was where I was kind of getting a lot of the money from. A lot of my income from. And obviously I'd been like, I'm going full time on Better Share, this is what I'm doing. And I remember I said to myself, I'm going to give myself a year. If in a year it doesn't generate any revenue and it's like, it's not really showing any signs of it being like a real kind of, like there's a real business need here, or having any traction, as I guess they love to call it in in kind of startup world, then I'll leave it. Like, that's it. It will, I'll leave it. I'll go back to working as a designer and I'll get on with myself. And so after the first year, we were obviously, and it was such a weird time because I wasn't in the UK, so I'd gone to Belize and I was supposed to be staying there for like a month, ended up having to stay there for a good couple of months. And I had to...
Because of the pandemic.
Yeah, this is in the pandemic. So if you ever see those beginning videos where I'm like talking about like, I think the first videos I started to do with these like Wednesday with was around that time where I was like, okay, let me just keep producing content, because obviously that's what I knew about. For me, I was like, okay, let me keep producing content to support like the create, because obviously we have got this huge network who are like, everything's shut down, what do we do now? And so I kind of felt a sense of like, I
Yeah,
guess,
you were in Belize because you were stuck for the pandemic.
yeah, because I was supposed to be
And
going there
what?
as a trip, and then that was it. The
Yeah.
borders shut.
So where were you staying? In a hotel or hostel or?
I was staying. Well, luckily, my now ex partner, my ex partners, we had rented his like auntie's. She had like a spare like flat, so we were renting that basically.
Hmm.
Because we were supposed to be there for like, I think I was supposed to be there for like a month or so, and I ended up staying there for a good, because that was it. As soon as I got there, I had like 2 weeks, and I was like, oh great, I'm here, just get on with stuff. And then that was it. The borders shut, and I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, no flights, out. Like that's it. And so obviously no one knew what
And
was
you had
happening.
brought your laptop.
Yeah, like yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I brought my laptop. Because I knew I was going to be there for a little while, so I thought I'd maybe work there, like have a little bit of a holiday and then also work. But yeah, I wasn't expecting that we'd be in a pandemic and people can go anywhere. But because I wasn't going anywhere, I just was like, I need to keep producing stuff because we can't just suddenly go quiet and be doing nothing. I kind of, as I said, I felt a sense of like responsibility, and also I wanted to help artists be like, okay, this is how you can make money. Like we then started to do, I then started to talk about artists doing, and this is kind of, I guess, how my talk started, where I started to do these little. So I feel like I've really like detoured off what you probably asked.
No, I'm just very you kind of you're on the right track of my story, but I'm just making sure that I don't forget. But anyway, carry on.
But yeah, as I said, all this time, bear in mind, I just quit my job as well, or just quit my like big freelance kind of position. But yeah, so I was just producing these videos which are all about helping creatives understand like how to market themselves online, how to make money online. Because we were starting to sell online, so I had some experience of understanding what you needed to do in it because we'd done little tests. So yeah, just sharing lots of these little videos that were just going on at the time. Obviously, IGTV was the thing, so it was all going on IGTV.
Yeah.
And then I kept doing these lives where it would just be like, because we couldn't physically meet artists. So I was like, okay, let's go back to what we did, but we just did it on Instagram Live. So we were just like speaking to different artists who were in our network and doing little interviews with them. And then we would do like little like studio tours. So people would just be able to, jump onto an IG Live and see a studio tour of an artist or hear about them or hear an interview from them. And so, yeah, we started producing more and more of that content. And then I think at some point, I guess, obviously, I eventually got back to the UK, which was the longest journey in the world. Like I think I've spoken to the embassy like more times in my life than I probably ever needed to. Who, by the way, didn't help me. So did not help me. But yeah, I had to get like, I think I can't remember how many flights I had to get back. About 4 flights by the time I eventually got home a few months later. And yeah, because I've been producing this content, and this is why I always get like, if people want to be content creators, just start doing it, like just start producing it. Because when I got back, I then started to get asked to do kind of talks. So I can't remember my first talk was with, but I started to do talks. I'd done one like maybe the previous year, like one talk with, I forgot who it was now. But I remember it was Kate Morass, and it was a really great talk. So it was a physical talk. And then obviously everyone was online. So then people were like, oh, I've seen you doing these like little kind of videos. Do you want to do a talk on this? Do you want to do a talk on that? And then I did my own workshop as well. So I did a workshop to help creatives like basically pivot their like physical workshops, so creative workshops, to online. So I did a whole like workshop on for them to do that. And so yes, I started to produce sort of kind of more of this like educational educational content for creatives, and that kind of led me on to doing talks for universities. Like I've now done one for Westminster, I've done one from Ravensbourne, University of the Arts, kind of different things. So
do you talk more like about, I guess you talk to, I guess like is part of sorry where I'm going with this, but like I remember when you were saying that, I remember seeing those IG lives and being like, you're like, this is cool what you're doing, and I like another cool thing. But like I guess like your spirit is also quite free, like not freelance, independent, or like you giving a talk to a uni. I guess it wouldn't be like, this is what you need to get a job. It's like, this is how you can get your work out there and things like that.
Yeah, I guess. So I thought he was going to ask me something.
Go on.
No, go on. I cut you off.
Okay. Anyway, no, carry on. What were you gonna say?
No, I thought you were gonna ask me a question about about like what. Maybe
Come on. I half was gone.
So I guess what I frame my talks under is more like creative entrepreneurship. So I either talk about my process of starting the business, which I feel like I was originally talking about and then completely detoured off. But yeah, I ever talk about my process of like starting Better Shared and kind of where it is now and how they can scale their own businesses if they're running one. Or I talk specifically about like self promo and how artists get to kind of promote themselves, and also talking about, yes, I talk about kind of marketing and monetization. So how they also can create like, selling online, and yeah, just the things that I guess I know now from running a business where that is what I do. So yeah, I guess I frames it under kind of teaching creatives how to market and monetize their skills or their business. So, yeah.
I guess that's you, man. That is you, actually. What I can name this podcast title, like, would be like maybe creative entrepreneurship, because that is it. Like, I guess like you give a real story of like having a job. Like there's the entrepreneurs that started them from their garage, or whatever, but like your one is kind of like doing it, starting at least a sensible way, but not the sensible way, like, but at least like, a realistic way for a lot of people. And then, but then, yeah, all the kind of, the fact that you're so flexible, I think that's a kind of testament to the idea, because it's a big idea, whether it's a video, whether it's an exhibition, whether it's a how-to helpful workshop, like it still all comes back to the core idea. And then one final thing, one thing that was on my list of things to talk to you about was like art curation. Like maybe that's a word I never knew of before, like, but I kind of understand it, especially like from you, and maybe also from Instagram, but like basically through following you and Better Shared, like just in my feed I see cool artwork, cool hand, like oil paintings, like different illustrations, like cool styles just in general. I like when I got friends that share that type of stuff, and like and like, yeah, it's all cool. And then like, but they all come from like Black African diaspora artist. And I guess like that's literally the point of it. Like I'm scrolling through my feed, I'm a graphic designer, I'm seeing something that I would genuinely think is cool anyway, but it's from someone that I might not see from the normal mainstream design blogs and stuff like that. And to like, as well as that, like when I read the caption, I've just got this, probably just the one I remember, of like some 19-year-old Louisiana like art student. How the hell do you know these people? And then not only that, like know a little bit more of a personal, you haven't just like picked an image from Google and said this is that, like there's you've basically gone to the depths of what I would expect someone who lives in that neighborhood to find the local talent. There's the local talent. But and like that word, as I said, like art curation, it's like someone has gone and picked out good things with a story from a particular background, and that's more than just a business. Like someone else can take over the business, but someone else can't take over the eye and the connection and the feelings of like what makes this artist special and stuff. So maybe I guess as well, you're a designer, you've been designing a bit, you're entrepreneur, but like a curator is like, it's not necessarily about you making the art, but it's you knowing what's relevant. Yeah, tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I think I kind of stumbled into this like role of art curator. So I guess traditionally art curators like, go to uni, study maybe history of fine art, or they study a curation degree, they leave and they kind of go that really traditional route. But I think everything I've done has sort of been, I think I've said I've come into the art scene from a very non-traditional background. Like I came from tech, we came from working in UX, UI and design and tech, and then jumped into art. So I came at it from a very different angle. But I think I didn't realize, I guess I was always curating. So even when I was doing the interviews with the kind of creatives, that selection of like creatives and kind of like picking them and is almost a form of curation. And yeah, I guess that's something I've always been doing. It's just, I guess you could say a talent is almost like recognizing talent. So recognizing people who are good or have the potential to be really good. And then I guess the way that it almost gets kind of played back to me is that now, because we've got customers, we've got an audience, and we've got, kind of businesses also that we work with, when I can sort of understand what they're interested in and kind of what kind of more they kind of lean to, so I can sort of curate based on that as well. So it's not just always like my personal bias, it's based on like, okay, data wise, they like this kind of stuff, or this is what they're interested in, or, this person is kind of, we can kind of see that that's where they're going. So yeah, I guess it's a hard one to describe really, but I guess curation is, in a sense, I think curation means two things. It's one, I think the actual traditional thing is actually kind of almost being a person who's kind of looking after and caring for the art. But also, I guess, curation in terms of the sense of kind of more how I see it now is like me or someone else who's a curator being able to really tell a story with the artwork. So with the collection. So if we're curating a collection, for example, we'll kind of have to look at, okay, what's the story behind the collection? And then finding incredible artists that, kind of work within that story, or finding the artist first and being like, is there a connection between them? So like, even when you come to an exhibition, or if you go on the website and look at the collections that we put together, there's a story behind it. So it all goes back to kind of storytelling. So looking at like so not just like, okay, this work looks sick. It's like, okay, what's the concept behind it? Let's learn a little bit more about this artist because, maybe their history or their experiences are part of their artwork, or maybe they're not, but there's something within it where we're like, okay, that makes sense, or that theme kind of really works with that, or sometimes it is visually like they work well together, but it's generally like one cohesive theme that kind of works throughout when we're curating a particular collection. And yeah, it's the same with like selecting artists. I guess all these years of speaking to them and kind of building the network and interviewing them, just gives me, I guess, an opportunity to be like, to understand a little bit more about them. So when I speak to them, like when artists join the platform, like they go through an application, we review the application, we look at, the kind of set criteria, like, have you created one collection? Like, is this the type of work that we can sell? And so, yeah, so we have like data and things that we look at. But then sometimes we end up just having a chat, like we'll have a chat just like this, we'll speak on a Zoom call, and we'll just talk to the artist and get to know them as a person, because, yeah, they kind of join. We always call it like the Better Shed family. So they kind of join this big network, which, yeah, in effectively is a bit like a family.
How many people is that on that network now?
The network has, I think our network, so we have like what we call a wider network, which is about 250 artists, which is always a bit like our talent network. So we kind of go in and out of it to be like, if we get a brand that kind of wants to commission an artist and they say, we want this particular style, we can go within our network, find a set of people and say, okay, these are the set of people that you could work with. So we present that back to them. And then on the site, we've got, I think it's coming up to about 70 artists that are actually on the site. But yeah, the rest of them, they're not on the site. Like, it might be because their work maybe works better for like murals, or their work, works better in particular contexts. But the wider network is, 250 now. I think we're about 250, which is, it's a network across, I think we're still across like 14 countries.
And all the countries as well. That's what's also super impressive.
Yeah,
like
14 countries.
Different places that I see that people are from.
Yeah, from Nigeria, Mozambique, Kenya, South Africa. So like across Africa, right round.
And do they find you or you find them?
Both. So we have three ways. So one, artist can just apply. So a lot of artists refer other artists, which is quite nice. Two, we kind of go out. So it's either myself, or I've also got scouts. So we call them kind of guest curators or scouts, where they work within their kind of regions. So, for example, we're just working with a curator called Reem, who's from Sudan, who's bringing on a whole bunch of Sudanese artists, which I'm really, really excited about. It's our new collection that we're releasing. And so, I had seen Reem being a curator in her work and how incredible she was in terms of curating and also being an artist herself, and also how like knowledgeable she was in that space in terms of her region. And Sudan is like, I feel like, is a real like burgeoning art scene. Like, it isn't like there's other countries across Africa that in terms of art, they're kind of very big on art, whereas Sudan is sort of like starting to build up. And so I thought actually this is a really nice opportunity to also make sure, I guess right now we're looking at making sure that we're covering across Africa, not just being very like, kind of West African driven or South African driven. Like, we want it to be kind of equal. So that's why we're and we have other kind of we now call them guest curators, but initially they were called scouts. So they will find artists in their region and then onboard them onto Better Shed. So that's how it works.
It sounds like a dream, like this going like so global. And like, I'm into football, and when you said scouts, it was like the scouting network of finding talent, but they're all kind of working towards like kind of like your like that initial idea that this you're making a big team basically like of
Yeah. It is the same as football. So the same way that you get a football scout turn up, it's the same way like if you're doing a show and a curator,
okay.
it's the same kind of vibe. You're like, oh, that curator from this gallery or that curator from whatever is here, and like people want to impress, people want to speak to them, they want to kind of get to know them, and it's literally that is your job. Like my job, I guess now is slightly different because I guess I'm more kind of running the business and overseeing a lot of stuff, but yeah, that kind of curation job is very much like, being almost like a bit like a talent scout, like you're a bit like that's kind of what you're doing. So, and you're always looking for new talent all the time because you're always either creating a show or you're building a collection or you're onboarding new artists. Like that is pretty much your job. So yeah, to be a guest, I guess if you were working with us, to be a guest curator with us it's quite a fun job. We're just looking at new artists all day long.
All right, well, it's nearly. I think it's nearly time for my bedtime now. I think I want to ask one more question.
Okay.
Maybe it's an easy question. Maybe it's a big question because I feel like you already started this. But like, what would be like? Like the question is like kind of like what's your mission? But you've already started your mission.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the dream or what's the kind of big vision?
Big vision. Yeah, it's interesting. I guess a lot of people ask us this, like, where do you want to get to? Like, what's the big vision? I think our big vision, I guess, is similar to, I guess, where we're on now, but there's so many more things that I want to do with it. Like, I really want to, make sure that we are, as I said, focusing from artists across the whole of Africa. So we're not just, at the minute, we're kind of in pockets, but I want that to be a place where, and I want people to kind of recognize Better Shared as a place that you come to find the next. So, for example, if you are an individual who are just like, you're interested in art or you want to be a collector, Better Shared is the place that you come to find the next best up and coming, artists from across Africa and diaspora. Like it is the place. It's kind of where we want to get to. We also want to bring back, which we're starting to make a bit of a transition. So it's almost like we've come full circle. So we're doing a lot more stuff now, what we call kind of B2B or B2B2C. So we're partnering with spaces where, collectors and people who are interested in art spend most of their time. So where you kind of work, rest and play. So that's more of our focus. So bringing back experiences. So we've got this mixture of kind of experiences, so like in real life experiences with kind of content. So the same kind of content we've been producing, but producing way more of it. And then commerce. So you being able to actually shop the art and really simply just scan and shop when it comes to your house. And yeah, there's a bunch of things that I want to do, but I really want it also for artists or up and coming artists to see it as the platform that you want to be on and that can be there to kind of support you. So we've got more of we have more of a kind of an agency side, but yeah, I guess we're building a legacy. That's kind of what I want to get to be like, so there isn't a place where you're like, I don't want there to be another artist to kind of come along and be like, I don't know where like my work could go. Like I feel like I want to break that barrier that we've kind of had and the barrier that was kind of there right at the beginning and it's still in some ways kind of there. I want Better Shared to be a place to be like, if someone has that question or they're, in uni or even if they're not in uni, if they're just like, an artist who's like, kind of works on things themselves and have just created something and they're like, I have no idea where my work could go, or like I don't see where I fit in these things, or how do I get to here? I want them to be like, or someone just tell them, go to Better Shared. Like that's the place to kind of go and start there. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess the big vision is to be that one place that people go, okay, that's what I associate with up and coming artists from Africa and the diaspora. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to get to. But a bunch of stuff. I want to do retreats. I want to do like...
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Go and tell me what you want to do. Because I was just thinking, like, you're giving me the big the big B2B, blah, blah, but I'm like, we've heard Cara go from designer to business to events to... What do you want to be doing? What do you want to be chilling? I'm imagining, surely you want to be going to these places in Africa and meeting...
Yeah, 100%. So what we want to do is like a big tour across which is obviously a big tour. I don't know if I could do this all at one go, but I'd love to do a tour of going to different countries across Africa, meeting different creatives, just spending time with them, because a lot of them we've worked with them for years and we have a relationship, but we've actually never sometimes met in person. So being able to spend time with them, that would be, I guess, my personal goals is kind of what I want to do. There's a few things actually. I want to create, like an artist, I guess more like an artist retreat, so a place where artists can kind of come.
This sounds like heaven. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, create where there's no, because a lot of people do like residency.
Like I have a residency and stuff like that. There's someone who does that in Australia actually.
Like a pressurized residency where like normally they produce work and then the residency kind of.
Oh yeah. No,
I don't want it to be that. I just want it to be like calm, relax, like meet each other, chill, like meet people who are there and like create work and have that time to create, but don't feel pressure that you have to have this like finalized thing at the end. I think that just I think have given them that time and that space and that energy to be like, actually I can just focus on being creative at this point. Like I can have that, because there's a lot of, obviously being an artist is the same thing, like you're running a business, so you don't want to be like, a lot of the time they're still stressing about, this bill has to be paid, okay, this painting has to be sold, or this, I need to sell X amount of prints because I need to hit, I need to make sure my rent's paid and this, that and the other. I just want it to be a time where they can be like, actually I can just create and experiment a little bit more and try different things and kind of see what comes out of it, rather than, and without having to stress about, I've got to pay this, I've got to pay that, I've got to pay this. Like I want that to all be covered for them. There's a bunch of other things I want to do. Like I definitely want to bring back this whole, like physical, I said we're bringing back physical experiences, which I'm excited about, but more so kind of bringing together also the kind of collector community. So them being able to maybe do a trip to, go and meet an artist and maybe have like almost like a creative holiday. So like you could sign up to a trip, really want to partner. So if there's any, like I guess the places where they obviously like plan trips and things like that, like, so it's a real experience. Like you go and stay somewhere nice, you can go and visit some artists in their studios, you can go eat dinner somewhere, like a real kind of, I guess more of like a, I guess it's like a very focused trip where like you're interested in creative things. So there's going to be creative activities. So you can go visit this, go visit that, go visit these people, see this artist, do this, do that.
That'd be cool. Or maybe like in how you went to Paris. Like I love it when you go to like places. Like this time I didn't go to Paris because I'd rather have gone with my friend who lives there, because they show you some stuff that like the cool spots that I wouldn't know otherwise, and like you could probably do that with a few cities in Europe and around the world.
100%. Yeah, but I think I would do it with taking collectors from around the world who probably want to go to space, like countries within Africa. So go to Mozambique, have, meet local people, meet local artists, and also meet these people that you've probably been buying their work or you've been looking at their work, the same people that you've been scrolling and looking through on our Instagram, or the same people that you've been looking through on our platform. You can now go and meet them and spend time with them and stuff. So that's another thing I'd like to do. And then I guess the third thing that I would really want to get to is having
go on. The genie only allows 3 wishes, so go on.
3 wishes. My third thing is to create I want a financial kind of almost like a support system. So whether it is based around kind of a grant or some kind of like financial tool that can help artists as they're kind of up and coming, finance their projects, or just help them kind of like finance, like kickstarting their career as an artist. Because I think that's one thing that, artists and anyone I think who's starting a business struggles with is having that. And that's the whole point. Like we're a platform. We're trying to give you the kind of leg up to get to this big point. Like we don't really work with you once you blow up. That's amazing. Like we want you to go blow up, and we want you to do great things, but you get to a point after when you kind of go and do that yourself, or you work with another agent, or you work with someone else. But we really want to help you when you're at those kind of earlier stages to help you get to that point. So that's the third and final thing that I'd like to. That's my 3 wishes, really. That's
good. I like those wishes. I like them better than the PowerPoint wishes, bro. That was cool, but this I'm imagining like senior citizen Cara dishing out grants from a getaway where we're flipping, where artists come and do their and hang out and do cool stuff and stuff.
So I guess if anyone's listening when they watch this, if you want to help bring those ideas to yeah, but they're definitely achievable, and they're things that I think I've always had this list of things that I want to do in terms of with Better Shared and in general. So yeah, I think it'll be exciting to do that. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to do with Better Shared anyway. And then other stuff I want. Actually, just one other thing which I will throw in there, which is slightly
Go hit me with it again.
Personal thing, which is I want to change. This is a big goal that I want to do. I want to change the creative education system. So I want to be able to do business within that, like, so when you're doing your degree or you're doing even maybe from like college, I would say maybe yeah, from university or college age, like having like business being part of it, but not in like a boring way, like creative business. Understanding it, because there's so many people that left and went freelance. There's people now who are going to leave and graduate and go freelance, and they just don't have a clue as to like what needs to be done when you do it. So I think just having, even if it's like a module or two, that's just about.
You're doing that already a little bit with your videos and stuff.
Yeah, but I think that being actually what I want it to be is an actual like program that is, or a module that's actually part of your degree. So it's not just like.
Everything that you're talking about, I want this to happen. I'm sure it will happen. Like, no, I'm sure it will. Like, if it happens, that's incredible. Like, imagine if you've changed something in like education. That's
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I have to learn about how you change that whole process, but I'm sure it's long.
But I think you can do it. All these things just take like someone, like you can say it and everyone would be like, it's a good idea. University tutors would also be, it's a good idea. We agree, but no one it takes someone to like make the module, make the idea. Mm-hmm. As you said, start small, like do it with something, and and then I'm sure it's going to be good.
But yeah, there's my. So although I guess the genie had an extra wish, but that's my fourth.
Maybe the fourth one is on your own, bro. You had to figure that one out.
That's like a personal goal of mine. That isn't like a better shit. No. Yeah, it's a personal goal.
This why, I'm so glad that anyway we had this talk. Everything you spoke about is completely like I want to happen, and even like you and Better Shared are one thing. When you keep saying we, I'm like, who are these other people? I'm sure there's other great people, but like your dreams and Better Shared dreams are the same. Even like, as I said, I don't want to compare myself. Like in the tiny bits of entrepreneurship that I've dabbled in, it's like giving your free time to something that other people wouldn't do, like whatever it is. And that's you, like that's not the company, that's you giving your time. Like there'll be a time where as it is, it's a company and the salary and people getting booked for time, but you did all the legwork. I mean, everyone that volunteered and put together that's like doing it out of passion and for a bigger goal.
It's being an entrepreneur, but there's so much sacrifice, which I'm sure you're aware. Like even if you want to be, there's a lot of, and I think there's a lot of sacrifice that people, which I probably didn't go into as much, but I think people don't realize, like, because it becomes almost your everything. Like you will, and that's why I always say to people, if you're going to run a business or you want to be an entrepreneur, make sure it's something that you're really, really passionate about. Like, and I always say, if this is something that I did this when I was doing this for free, so I'm like, I will do this and now get paid for it, which is great. But like, if you could do it for free or you do it for like absolutely nothing, and it's something that you think about and you wake up and you will, like, even if you don't want to, like I literally, my brain is now like never quiet, because there's always something in my head being like, oh yeah, we need to do that, or maybe this needs to be done. I live and breathe, and it does become a big part of you. But it's exciting and rewarding when you do it, but it also takes a lot, and it takes, there is still a lot of sacrifice within it. Like you have to understand that you maybe can't do all the things that you maybe used to do, or you're going to have to, my salary is not the same as when I was a freelance designer. Like it's not, there's things that there's almost like a give and take with stuff. So, but it's that idea that you've got, that it's almost like, I think that's when you know that it's the right one. Like obviously you can look at data and facts and things like that, but I think it's one of those things where it's like, if you wake up every day and you think, if I don't do something about this, I'm going to regret it. Like that's the thing to at least go and try. Even if it doesn't work out, at least go and try it. So that's my, I guess, final little inkling of it. I won't make it depressing. Like it's really hard being it is hard, but I'm glad that I took the risk and went full time in the weirdest time in the world, but I'm glad that I did it.
You did it, and I'm glad. It is a no-brainer. You're one of the first people on my list that I wanted to talk to for this, because it's like
I know, I feel like it's everything. The timing, like we've done it though. We've done it.
Yeah.
I realize it's super.
Yeah, you know what time it is here? It's 10:20 p.m.
Oh, okay.
What time is it where you are?
11:80. Well, yeah, 20 past 11. So we are. How many hours apart? 12, 13, 10.
12, something like that. This is actually super hard, like catching up with friends from London in Australia. Like, one, the distance, but at least if the time difference was a bit better, I could actually have a phone call with someone or something like
I know
that.
what you mean. 'Cause it's like, yeah, because I'm like, oh, I think we tried to catch up one time. It was my birthday, but I feel like it was still like really early for you or really late. Because it's just such.
Wasn't that when you was in Barbados? And I got the time wrong.
Yeah, we spoke then. But yeah, because Barbados is even longer. Like, I'm sure Barbados is like, if we're 12, Barbados is like 16 hours different from you, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a joke, bro. I was like, yeah. Anyway, we'll leave that. We're catching up later.
Yes.
But I'm gonna end with thank you very much. I've said it many times, but you've been super inspiring. You're super creative. You are you, and keep doing you. And like, I want more, as many people to see. Trust me, being in Australia, I meet so many like young people, young creatives, even like young black, brown people that grew up in Australia that have a different kind of connection with like art and design. And I'm definitely want as many people to hear your story and like reach out. To be honest, if like follow your Instagrams, I'll put it all in the thing. And yeah, thank you, Better Shed, and thank you, Swaaraa.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Thank you, Cisco.